Hello again, and welcome to MLR Weekly, as presented by Rugby Wrap-Up. Matt McCarthy in New York City. Thanks for joining us. It's much appreciated. We have a wonderful show, including the Director of Rugby and Head Coach of the Seattle Seawolves, Alan Clarke, General Manager of the two-time champion New England Free Jacks, Tom Kindley, and, of course, our recurring segment, Rugby Mornings Coffee Break, with John Fitzpatrick. Rugby Wrap-Up's MLR Weekly brought to you by Sheehy Auto Stores. It's easy at Sheehy. The Pig and Whistle, New York City, the world's best rugby pub. And Lean and Limber, stretching your way to a healthier lifestyle. Let's get started with Rugby Mornings Coffee Break with John Fitzpatrick, calling in from the nation's capital, Washington, D.C., the District of Columbians indeed. John, how are you? What do you got for us?
Hey, Matt, it may be getting a little chilly outside, but things are heating up in the MLR Hot Stove League.
Oh, I see. That was good. Oh, man, if that's an indication of what's to come, we should just all bail out now. What else?
Hey, man, your Mets are still in it. They still got a shot, baby.
Yeah, you're damn right. They're not like your little Nationals or your little Orioles, are they? Because those teams suck. Next.
All right, let's move on and talk rugby. Man, how about the New England Free Jacks? They announced that Mitch Wilson is no longer with the team. Matt, guess where he's going?
Let me see. 1, 2, 3. Anthem. How you doing?
Yeah, how'd you figure that out?
Well, there seems to be a move to have all these established starters on MLR franchises that are Eagles to shift to the Anthem. And I don't know if I'm crazy about this. I'm not sold on this. I thought the Anthem was like an under-23 developmental side. And now you're taking starters from MLR teams, and then we're going to isolate them and then try to copy the Chilean model with Selknam? I don't know if I'm crazy about this. It's a wait and see for me. What do you think?
Who said anything about it just being an under-23? They just wanted to group a bunch of men's Eagles together. More established Eagles are heading there, including Alex Mullen. But it's funny because both Alex and Mitch were revealed that they're on the Anthem roster via the USA Rugby roster announcement for the November test. So that's kind of interesting.
Yeah, the scheduling out of USA Rugby is sometimes a little bit tricky because they're wearing a lot of hats over there. Next.
I mean, since we're talking about USA Rugby, we'd be remiss if we didn't bring up the fact that the GOAT, the greatest of all time for the men's sevens program, the legend Perry Baker, announced his retirement from the men's sevens program. He's going to hang on as an assistant coach through the end of the year. But, Matt, what more can you say about the guy who's probably the poster child, the greatest of his generation there for the last 10 years? I know he's 38, 39, but, Matt, why not a run out or two of 15s? MLR, huh? Anthem? Why not?
I think that ship has sailed for him. I can't speak for him, but what a career, a great career. Speed Stick, we're going to miss you. We hardly knew you, but maybe we'll get you on as a correspondent on one of the Rugby Wrap-Up programs. Next.
Matt, let's jump back to that Hot Stove League. There's been a couple of announcements, some big international signings in MLR.
Did you hear that? That was the sign. That was the sound of us jumping.
Oh, gotcha. Okay. I'm going to jump to conclusions here. And let me just finish here. Because, again, international signs all over the world here in MLR. Starting with Nola Gold, they have brought in French international Kylian Galtier. I think I pronounced that right.
Oui, d'accord. Prochain.
I will continue. How about the San Diego Legion? MLR history here, Matt. They have signed the first Mexican in MLR, Alejandro Pedrillo, a prop. Interesting signing there. Could be, a move to get some more fans down in San Diego.
A gateway
drug to rugby.
Yes, we like that. We want to go to Mexico. Anybody out there? I'm available. Hello. Next.
I left her in Monterey.
Okay. That could be California, but go ahead.
I'm pretty sure it's Mexico. Go back to the song. Oh, Blue Eyes. The Utah Warriors, 2 internationals.
Don't call me Oh Blue Eyes, just to butter me up. Go ahead.
Yeah, just don't call me late for dinner. How about Utah Warriors? They have signed 2 international players. One is Samoan D'Angelo Leula, fly half center. Interesting signing there. And a former New Zealand All Black hooker, Liam Coltman. The guy's got, like a 100 appearances in Super Rugby and the Legs Utah Warriors. They cleaned house a little bit. Now they're starting to announce some signings.
Okay. All right. What else you got for us, buddy?
Matt, this episode's probably coming out on a Thursday, so make sure you tune into the Rugby World Cup 2025 draw. The USA Women's Eagles are in Band 3. We're going to find out who they are going to play.
Very exciting news. And as always, John, you're just riveting once again. Thank you very much, sir.
I did it my way.
All right, on that note, let's sing our way out to a commercial break and welcome in Alan Clarke of the Seattle Seawolves after this.
I did it my way.
Big's like a demented mole there.
Need a great price on a new vehicle? Sheehy makes it easy. Easy Price shows you our lowest prices on the Mid-Atlantic's largest selection. Find your best price online or at any of our 31 dealerships.
It's easy at Sheehy. Sheehy.com.
You need your cleats? You need them tomorrow? If you order today by 3 p.m. New York time or noon LA time, they can have them to you tomorrow. Young, old, male, female, if you're playing on turf, if you're playing on grass, if you're playing in the rain, you're playing in the heat, they've got you covered. RugbyNow.com. Go there now. And we are back, and we have the pleasure of once again welcoming in Alan Clarke, coach of the Seattle Seawolves. Alan, welcome back to MLR Weekly. How are you?
Matt, great to be here. Very good, thank you. And it's good to see you looking so young and handsome as ever.
Right back at you. And I think that's got something to do with your off-the-field farming, or at least landscaping, right? Before we get into that, you did a little landscaping last night.
Yeah, well, last couple of days I've just got off the grids and got away from devices and computers. So, yeah, bit of soil to wheel and level, and then lay a bit of turf. It's a good way of reconnecting and just getting away from the hustle of life.
Seawolves, off-season moves, some interesting ones that I'm taking note of. Connor Mooneyham traded to the Anthem. You're bringing in Mika Kruse from Utah. He should excite your fans. Pablo Zeiss, front row, that you got via Old Glory DC through the Dallas Dispersal Draft. Let's start with those.
Yeah, I suppose high level, and I'm sure it's the same for all clubs. There are a number of reasons why you have changes in the off season. Player desire, the lure of other clubs, be that financial or minutes on field, performance, retirement, lifestyle. We've a couple of players who are overseas, and they're blessed now that they're expecting their first baby, for instance. And that causes complications in terms of timing. So there are always a number of reasons, and some of those you prepare for and others you're blindsided by. But yeah, Connor, really sorry to see him go. Pleased to say he went out the front door, which is the best way to go. He approached me. I understood that, he's from that part of the world. He's potentially will have greater opportunity to get more minutes on the field with Anthem, and addition to the family. So when you put that all together, it's good for Connor, and we felt it was good business for us as well, because I've got to protect the Seawolves at the end of the day. So we negotiated a good trade, which we felt was fair for Anthem, fair for the Seawolves, and ultimately it was fair for Connor, and that's a win-win for everybody. Mika Kruse, I've admired for a long time. He excites me. He's a player that is already a good player. He's played for the USA. He's coming here for the right reasons, and I thoroughly believe his best rugby's ahead of him, and can't wait to work with him, and for the rest of our management team to work with him. And Juan Pablo Zeiss, last year we really suffered with injuries, in our tight head position and in our hooker department.
You lost both Malcolms like a week and two into the season, right?
Yeah, obviously we lost Peter Malcolm, we lost Mason Peterson.
As well.
We then lost Ollie Khalifi, Joe Tafeti was out for a long period. So we really strengthened in that department, and we've gone 3 deep, and all 3 across the front row, all 9 front rowers should expect game time. That's the quality that we've got. And when Juan Pablo Yeats came to the fore, it really was a no-brainer. Once I got to speak to him and listen to, his character, his ambition, and fundamentally, it's been a really good fit for us. But there are more to come in the recruitment department and some great reinforcements.
Any big names on the horizon potentially?
There are, yes, and they're going to be announced in due course. But yeah, we've ended up through those different aspects or life-changing events of probably having to recruit more than we anticipated, but we're very happy with the squad that we've put together.
Well, it's a good sale. If I'm a player, it's an easy sale for me to go to Seattle and say, okay, look at this fan base. Look at the Pacific Northwest. It's a pretty cool place just, to be, and especially if you like the outdoors. Plus, you got a rabid fan base. So as a player, you can't ask them, and you're always competitive. You're always right there at the end. So it can't be a tough sale.
Yeah, and absolutely. And, and yet having said that, we want players to come here who want to be here for 2-3 years. So ultimately, some players are moved on because the performance hasn't ticked the box. That doesn't mean they won't perform well somewhere else, but
right.
It hasn't been fit here. And I thoroughly believe no one should put a ceiling on any man's expectations or ambitions. But Sam Matenga, for instance, he's not coming back. He's here for 3 years. But he's been picked up by Crusaders, and that's wonderful for us that a player's come here. He's got his rugby to a level, and his experiences in the MLR have, elevated him to a performance level whereby he's getting selected by the Crusaders in Super Rugby. So yeah, it's part of the business, and the MLR is definitely improving. There's a higher quality and more numbers in quality overseas players who want to come to the MLR. And equally, clubs are looking at MLR players with a view to recruiting them in those super leagues, if you wish, in Europe and in the Southern Hemisphere.
Yeah, it's always great to have that kind of press, so to speak, to say, okay, you have an idea about playing for a higher level professional league. You come here, and maybe you hone your skills enough to do that. And that's a perfect example of that. Let's talk about the college rugby draft. Anything out of there that you saw in value?
Yeah, we're particularly excited because we've signed Calvin Luamalamanga, who's from Central Washington. And yeah, he's a local boy. He's from Tacoma. His family are here. And he's excited to come to what he deems to be his home MLR club. And we're really trying to build those connections. So he's one for sure that's coming into our squad. We drafted a couple of other individuals, which were more likely to provide some remote support in the first instance, with a view to evaluating them through their club games now that they're into that adult world.
All right, Alan, we're running out of time, but I'd be remiss if I didn't bring up that match that was at Croke Park in the United Rugby Championship. My ancestors are from your neck of the woods up in Northern Ireland on my grandfather's side. Croke Park, 83,000 fans to watch a regular season game between Leinster and Munster, right?
Yeah, it's
crazy.
Yes, only round 4 of the URC, and for those number of people to be at the games, just fascinating. And just reading the reports, I haven't watched it, but then reading the reports of coaches and players and the adrenaline rush that they got from that. You've World Cup winners with South Africa, you have Irish internationals who are saying it's just a phenomenal experience, and it shows you what is possible. Because I remember playing for the provincial sides back in Ireland where you were playing in front of less than 1,000 way back in the 90s, and that's
3 guys and a dog.
Yeah, exactly. And that's you could hear your family members either shouting at you to work harder or well done. But it's a sign of where rugby is in the world, and I think, if I look back over the last 20 years and see the growth of rugby in Ireland alone, and that's been, come to an incredible level at the weekend, as we saw 83,000 Croke Park, atmosphere absolutely buzzing, and we're talking about a regular season game.
But you know what, too, and perhaps a more realistic sample or example of what we can be here in the MLR. If you go look at that Ulster versus Ghana match in Belfast, the rain was comedically blowing upward, right? But it didn't matter. It was a packed house, a great vibe, much smaller venue, intimate venue, not 83,000 that you had at Croke Park, but still certainly something that we can shoot for here more realistically. Great environment.
18,000 the ground holes, and the weather was atrocious. We don't even get days like that in Seattle. It's if the product on the field is good and the fans are having a great experience, you'll fill stadiums and people want to be entertained. And at Seattle, we like to think we entertain not just our fans, but also our players.
Well, every time I've been to Star 5, I've had a tremendous time, and I'm like, this is it, man. This is what we got to do across the league. Same thing with New England.
Yeah.
Those are really two places that really get it right, and the templates are there. And maybe I'm crazy, but I'm fired up. I'm ready for a new season already. I know that you don't get any time off. You're just going at it like a madman again. But it's always great catching up with you, and I really appreciate you taking the time out of what is a busy schedule, even in the off season.
And Matt, it's been wonderful to speak to you, as ever.
Thank you, sir. On that note, we're going to say goodbye to Mr. Alan Clarke of the Seattle Seawolves, and we'll be right back after this.
I wouldn't like to be at the bottom of that.
If you're in New York City and want to watch some great rugby, have some great food, and some great times, go to the world's best rugby pub, the Pig and Whistle on West 36th Street.
Hey, U.S. fans, you can tune into every match live on Flow Rugby. How do we know that? Because we're on there all the time. This is the Rugby Odds, where an unlikely pundit panel of a wordsmith, a WWE legend, a rugby star, and a supermodel scour the globe, seeking best bets and bad behavior. Are you not entertained? And we're back, and we have the absolute pleasure of welcoming in the general manager of the champion New England Free Jacks, Mr. Tom Kindley. Tom, how are you?
I'm good, thanks, Matt. It's starting to get cold in Boston, but that's when we start getting into our work. So all's good. 2.5 months away from preseason, so I'm doing well, thank you.
First off, congratulations on another successful campaign, back-to-back championships. You're the architect of that franchise. Take a bow.
No, it's a credit to everyone involved, from ownership to interns, and we were massively proud of the group fighting through a bit of adversity and finding a way to get it done. So thank you, and for being part of it, part of the journey.
Mitch Wilson to the anthem. Pourquoi?
I mean, I couldn't speak more highly of Mitchie and everything he's done for us since the beginning. He was really one of the first collegiate products to come into the league and stamp his mark, and he's been excellent for us, obviously, for 5 seasons. Scored the first ever Free Jack try. He's Free Jack number 11. I could just go on and on. I actually used to live with him when we started. When I was an intern originally at the Free Jacks, I was living with Mitch. So he's more than just a player for us. He's a personal friend, and he had a great opportunity to be well remunerated for what he does down at Anthem and to be a leader there. And I felt that it was the best thing for him. feel as though he deserves the opportunity. He really cares about the progress of the Eagles, and he feels like he can make a difference there and move into a new chapter of his life and playing career. So he's got our blessing, and we're just grateful for all the good times we had with him.
So that was all corporate speak for remunerated. He got more cash to go down.
He got more cash, he got more cash.
Okay.
Like Anthem, there's no secret there. They're paying American guys more than teams typically can across the rest of the league, and that's a way to incentivize players to go there. And it's also a good thing, I think, like for American players to be paid more. They have the ability to be more professional, to eat better, to live better, higher performance lifestyles, and so that that's a big part of the reason why he is taking the opportunity.
So we just had John Fitzpatrick of Rugby Morning on earlier in the show, and we talked about this briefly. Has there been a change in the direction for the Anthem? I thought for some reason that it was like going to be an under 23 developmental squad, but now has the focus shifted? Has the concept shifted to now we're just going to have Eagles starters from across the league come to North Carolina?
You'd have to bring on Brandon Sparks and Scott Lawrence and ask them directly. But if I was guessing, I would say that they want to set up the young guys for success, and to do that, they need to have some veteran American players like Mitch Wilson, who's only 27. I think.
But how do you feel about them poaching your guys?
Yeah, I think it's something that's going to be interesting to see it play out and see, because for a club like us, we recruit based on our environment, and to just be outcashed by a team for a player is frustrating, but it's also just the industry, and that's going to happen. So we will have to learn to
that dirty word called capitalism.
Capitalism, that's right.
You traded Junior Gaffa to the Anthem.
Junior really enjoyed his time there, got a lot of playing opportunity, and that really expedited his career, I guess. And these guys, they graduate at 23, so they're not young. So there is pressure to earn a wage, and if they're going to be serious about it, an Ivy League graduate like Junior, he's got to get serious about it quickly if he's going to be investing his time and brain power into rugby. So for him at the end of the season, he felt as though it was in his best interest to remain at Anthem because he'll be able to, garner more playing time than he would be able to get here at the Free Jacks. And we respect that. It was a bit frustrating for us because we, had a vision for him to return and play a role, and that's why we loaned him in the first place. But at the end of the day, you do have to do right by the players, and I do understand where he's coming from, and I think it'll be a good thing for him.
Out of the Dallas dispersal draft, when the Jackals folded, it looks to be that you have one of my favorite players in the league, Geronimo Gomez-Vara. Is that true?
So the announcements are about to commence for us next week, and I can't outright confirm, but it's very, very likely that he'll be joining us.
Okay, so then that leads, because you have always, in the last couple of 3 years, you've had one of the best back rows in the league and deepest. So now, how's Vian Conradi? Is he healthy?
Yeah, Vian will be, you never know with return to play, and there can be complications, but he's projected to be full go by the time preseason starts.
Wow.
Pretty much. So he'll be really rock and roll come January.
And out of that back row that you had on your roster at the end of the season, who's missing, or are you just adding Gomez-Vara to that unit? Potentially, because you're not announcing it yet.
Yeah, we're not announcing it. What I can tell you is that there'll be a bunch of continuity within that back row group. There will be a couple of changes of players to obviously there's
like
players
a Mitch
coming
Jacobson.
Yeah, Mitch Jacobson won't be back. I can tell you that at this stage, at least, he won't be back for the beginning of the season.
Are you ruling him out for the rest of the season?
I never say never, do you?
Okay, all right.
He's got an active visa. He's a friend of the club, but for him and his partner Abby, they have they've got secure jobs and a kid now, and it was never really part of the plan for 2025. So
How about other players not coming back?
It's probably too early to and we're in this weird period of MLR recruitment where there's a lot up in the air for lots of teams, I think, with guys on the brink of getting Super Rugby contracts and, dealing with injuries and so on and so forth. So, too early to give you too much info on that. What I can tell you is that we've got about 70% of the group returning from the 2024 season, and we've got some of the biggest signings that the Free Jacks have ever brought on into the team, joining us ahead of 2025. I think an area for us that we identified that we need to improve is our set piece. We had one of the weakest line-outs and scrums in the competition last year, and that's something that we have really needed to arrest. So we've got some players you can read between the lines coming into the pack to
You're killing me. You're killing me. You're killing me.
help. But that'll become clear in the next 2 weeks, I promise.
We got a recognizable name coming in at second row.
Recognizable. Yep. I'll give you a couple of clues. Super Rugby's second rower. He's played 15 or so games of Super Rugby.
Does he sound like you?
Similar to me.
Okay.
And then a couple of other internationals coming in, senior internationals coming into the pack as well. So they'll help us with what we're trying to do there.
All right. So you're bringing in Brodie Retallick.
Again, yeah, you'd have to look back at the Free Jacks recruitment method, and it probably gives you some clues there.
He's not coming, is he?
No.
One final question for you: how heavy the crown? How does it weigh on your shoulders right now?
We see, we see it as 2025 as a great opportunity for us to just continue to try to evolve our systems and really enjoy what we do and foster an environment where players are getting better and really enjoying themselves on and off the field. So, I think if we do that, we'll be where we need to be at the back end of the season. But again, we've never focused on championships. It's honestly not something that it's not the most important thing for the club. It's not what we talk about, spend time talking about, and it is a byproduct. And it requires luck too, which we've talked about, like Scotty talked about it. So yeah, it's just an opportunity to continue to work in a field that we all enjoy doing. So
finally, what's on the shirt?
Yeah, so Cole Bailey whipped this up. The New England Free Jacks, our theme of this past season was about the Free Jacks experience. And
was it the theme to kill everybody? Is that what all the skulls are on the front of the shirt?
Bailey got a little bit heavy metal with it. But it was quite funny, walking through the airport, everyone was, people were asking, oh, are you guys a rock band? Or, what do you know, we're a rugby team, actually.
And Tom, on that note, I want to thank you for coming on and taking all my shots with aplomb. Thank you, sir.
Good man. Thanks for what you do, Matt. Really appreciate it.
And unfortunately, we're out of time on the show, so I want to thank Tom Kindley, Alan Clarke, the Director of Rugby and Head Coach of the Seattle Seawolves, John Fitzpatrick of Rugby Mornings Coffee Break, Brian Ray, we miss you. We hope you're doing well with the family. And thank you for tuning in, folks. Please check out our other programs, including the critically acclaimed The Rugby Odds. Hit that subscribe button on YouTube. Sign up for our weekly newsletter. It won't kill you. And also tell your friends about us. And please join our American Red Cross blood donor team.